When you think of computers, what do you think of? Do you think of totally awesome hardware, cool PC builds that you put together, or pre-made awesome laptops from some of the coolest, most cutting-edge companies on Earth? Or do you think of awesome software, cool operating systems, interesting user interface ideas, cool development tools and games? Whatever it is that you think of when you think of computers, you are, according to all of the biggest computer companies on Earth, completely and utterly wrong, or at least about to be very disappointed. Because all of the big companies, Microsoft, Red Hat, and so many others have all gotten together and they have conspired against us. They have decided that the future of computing consists almost entirely of artificial intelligence and political advocacy. This isn't a joke. This is just really, really sad. And if you see me laughing and smiling through the majority of this video, or listening to this podcast and thinking, gee, Lunduke sure sounds chipper, it is because I am crying on the inside, and the only way I can survive this period of time is to pretend like I'm laughing on the inside. It's really terrible. You probably saw it. Microsoft announced just yesterday their new Copilot Plus PCs. You know, they got new Surface laptops and other companies coming in to make PCs powered by artificial intelligence, powered by Microsoft's artificial intelligence. And they are putting this AI throughout the whole experience, so much so that the PC itself, the operating system that you're getting, Windows, is going to take a continuously steady stream of screenshots, I say, of everything you do, so that it can remember what you do and tell you what to do in the future, or tell you what you want to be doing, because it knows better than you. Is it creepy? Yes. Is it potentially a massive, massive privacy violation? Oh, you bet your sweet bippy it is. But they're doing it anyway, whether you want it or not. Now, many people will say, oh, Lunduke, you're taking this all wrong. A lot of these features are optional. There will be ways to turn... Really? Really? Is there going to be ways to turn this off? Because that's how it usually goes with these sorts of things, right? They implement a feature that technically can be turned off, but they never ever make it permanent or hard to turn off, or make other features of the operating system dependent on that being on, so you have to leave it on anyway. That never happens. Not ever. Wink, wink. Oh, man. And this isn't just the operating system. This isn't just these Copilot Plus PCs that they're going to be pushing on everybody. Even the development tools from Microsoft are all about AI. This is the GitHub.com website. The very top of it, how does it describe itself? Not as a source control repository. No. Not as the one thing it was created to do, be a source control repository. It is, quote, the world's leading AI-powered developer platform. And as you scroll down this page, it's all about AI acceleration. And yes, they're creating the world's foremost AI platform. Is it disheartening that this is what development has become? For a lot of us, yes, it is. But what can you do? It's just the way it is. But it's not just AI. They're also pushing advocacy. Now before many of you get all upset and riled up, I want to make one thing very clear here. I don't really care what a computer company or computer foundation or computer project is advocating for outside of the tech realm. Once they get into politics, I kind of just don't care for it, right? I can have a political opinion. You get to have a political opinion. But do I really want Microsoft to have a political opinion? Do I want the makers of my web browser and operating system and AI-powered Office suite to have a very distinct political opinion about everything from who should win an election to medical procedures to the environment environment. No, 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 no. I don't want that. Whether they agree with me or disagree with me, I don't want that. This is my computer. This is not a political advocacy platform, right? I don't want that at all. Well, Microsoft, of course, like all the other companies we're about to be showcasing, has been delving heavily into political advocacy, whether it's externally at their events talking about one political cause or another, which is annoying, or internally touting some pretty extreme political stances inside their company amongst the developers that are creating the software and the AI that is going to power our machines and screenshot everything you do. So to be clear, the company that is going to be screenshotting everything that you do and definitely being cool about it and not sharing it or doing anything weird, wink, wink, is pushing very distinct, extreme political stances among the employees that are building that platform. Nothing could go wrong. Nothing could go wrong at all. What's a little AI plus some political advocacy, am I right? And then there's Mozilla. Mozilla, just the creators of Firefox, right? The web browser that's going to save us all from Internet Explorer or whatever we're supposed to be upset about at the moment. The free web browser, the one web browser engine that's really not at all like Google Chrome, right? We're supposed to rally behind this. Well, they just announced they have a new president heading over the Mozilla Corporation, and they just announced that the Mozilla Foundation has a new executive director. And I'm going to read their headline. This is not a joke. Their headline description of this. Political interest tech advocate will harness collective power to deepen Mozilla's focus on trustworthy AI. That is how they announce their new executive director over the foundation that owns Firefox, right? The web browser. They also have a VPN. And you know, I certainly feel comfortable getting my VPN services that are supposed to keep me secure and anonymous from an organization that is heavily pushing both AI and political advocacy. Now, I've done multiple rounds where I have multiple articles now where I've talked about the political spending of Mozilla. It's crazy and weird. I'm not going to cover it now. Go over to Lunduke.com. You'll find details of it there. It's really weird. The Firefox Mozilla spending is crazy. Go read up on that. But what's really strange here about this announcement is that it never once mentions Firefox. Not one time. It doesn't really even doesn't mention web browsing. Not at all. It talks specifically and only about artificial intelligence and political advocacy. That is the only thing it talks about. Now, this isn't, you may say, oh, well, that's just because this is the Mozilla Foundation. The Mozilla Corporation is really the one that does the development of Firefox, not the foundation. Well, here's the thing. When the Mozilla Corporation announced their new president, they also didn't mention Firefox. And the previous president of the Mozilla Foundation, when they announced their 5-year plan for Mozilla Corporation, it didn't include Firefox even once, but it included the majority of it was about artificial intelligence and, you guessed it, political advocacy. Okay. So if you're following along at home, if you have a Windows laptop that you're going out to buy right now and you install Firefox on it, you're getting every which way from Sunday. It's all about AI and politics, whether you want it or not, because they want to shove it down your throat. To me, that just drives me insane. There's also another blog post from the Mozilla executive director saying, hey, here's why I joined Mozilla. Doesn't really get to anything except reinforcing the awfulness I just talked about. It's horrible. You can go read it if you want. It's all up on their website. And here's the problem with all of this. If I could come out and just say, oh my gosh, Microsoft and Mozilla, what are you doing? That's newsworthy, right? Because that's interesting that these major corporations, because whether we want to think about it or not, Mozilla is a mega corporation with $500 million coming in. It makes a ton of money, and Microsoft is huge. what they decide to do as their future direction is worth noticing, right? Whether you like it or dislike it, they're going down the AI and advocacy road. They've stated as such. That's what their actions also indicate. That's what their spending indicates. But that's a one-off thing, right? That's just one or two big organizations. The real crazy story here is it's everywhere. I mean, it's not every single company, but it's most. Case in point, just a few weeks back, Red Hat, the biggest Linux company on earth, the subsidiary of IBM, held Red Hat Summit. And Red Hat Summit is their big giant event, and they pull out all the stops. They pay for Linux and open source and tech journalists to fly in and put them up in nice hotel rooms. By the way, if you're a tech journalist and you pay yourself to go to these events, you're definitely not staying in as nice a rooms as the one where Red Hat is paying for it, because Red Hat, oh boy, do they pull out all the stops to make sure that the journalists that they're worried about are pampered. Oh boy, do they do that. But they pulled out all the stops. Tons of people were there. What were they talking about? They were talking about AI, and pretty much only AI. Red Hat delivers accessible, open source, generative AI innovation. Okay. What is Red Hat Enterprise Linux AI? Well, a guide to the open source way for doing AI. Red Hat reimagines Enterprise Linux for the AI future. It goes on like this. If you go to the Red Hat Summit's press page, it is article after article after article all about AI. It is nonstop AI. Their keynotes were about AI. Their presentations were about AI. When they were doing press briefings, it was only AI. They had a few minor updates, but all of the times, and you notice this from the coverage, all of the times that the journalists went to talk to them about their other updates, like what's happening with Red Hat Enterprise Linux, the conversation got switch gears over to AI every single time. This is their future, right? It's amazing. So we're talking about consumer electronics, consumer software, desktop computers, laptop computers. We're talking about development tools, and we're talking about all of the enterprise tools, and the main company in the Linux world saying everything is about AI. And what's crazy is it's, again, AI and political advocacy. If you have been following along with the IBM and Red Hat leaks, you know that a big focus of Red Hat internally is political advocacy. And they take very distinct political opinions. I'm not going to get into them now. And you can agree with them or disagree with them. But for Red Hat, it is one of the primary things that they are focused on. Artificial intelligence, political advocacy. Those two things. It is the 1-2 punch. That is the future of computing, according to Microsoft, according to Mozilla, according to GitHub, according to Red Hat. It goes on and on and on. Even the smaller organizations, I say smaller, I should air quotes that, smaller, like the Linux Foundation, right? Which brings in a ton of money. What was it, 260 million last year? Something like that. If you look at their annual report for 2023, there is more page space, right? In there's 100 and something page report dedicated to artificial intelligence than there is to Linux. Again, the Linux Foundation focuses more in terms of total wordage on artificial intelligence than on Linux. And the same goes for green energy, climate change, global warming, diversity and inclusion, a wide variety of other politically charged topics. The focus, if you really look through the total page count of the Linux Foundation annual report, and kind of divide it up by, okay, well, what's this page about? Well, what's this page about? And compare them. The focus seems to be mostly on artificial intelligence and political advocacy. Not on Linux. It's true. This isn't what I want from them. This isn't what I don't want from them. It's just me noticing what they're saying, right? And if you want to disagree with me, that's fine. You're not really disagreeing with me. You're disagreeing with the Linux Foundation and Microsoft and Red Hat, because they're telling us exactly what it is that they want, where their priorities lie. Now, the advocacy thing is across the map. Even SUSE. Now, SUSE is interesting because it's not as big as Red Hat, but it's the oldest Linux company in the world, and it's still really, really big. It's a big company, makes a ton of money. And if you go to their press page at SUSE.com/news, what is the number one article? It's about SUSE strengthens container management portfolio to help. What are they going to help? Platform engineering teams manage at scale, support AI and machine learning workloads. It's all about AI, right? AI. That is everything. Everything for enterprise, everything for consumer grade electronics, everything in between. The whole kit and caboodle, whether you want it or not. That is what all of these companies are focusing on. And likewise, SUSE has not shied away from political advocacy, right? They go so far as to specifically sponsor political advocacy events. They plastered their logo on the butt of a guy's swim trunks to raise awareness about global warming a couple of years back. I mean, just really weird stuff. They purchase awards to give to their CEO. They literally buy awards from these award vendors. That's a real thing. It's weird. Again, go to lunduke.com or lunduke.locals.com and you can do a search for articles on it there. It's just bizarre, where they focus on political advocacy causes. Why? I don't know. Again, it's the oldest Linux company on Earth, but they're focusing on AI, and their focus, you could argue that their focus at SUSE is not political advocacy. They just simply do a lot of it. And their OpenSUSE, open source community brand, if you want to call it that, they like to really heavily focus on political advocacy causes, going so far as to ban anyone who would disagree with the political policies advocated for by SUSE or OpenSUSE. It's a very extreme and weird thing. Now, here's one last example, because this runs the whole gamut. And some of these examples are not going to be new to Lunduke Journal viewers and readers. But here is a tweet put out by one of the board members of the GNOME Foundation, right? GNOME, one of the biggest desktop environments out there, certainly on the Linux world. And they've stated that in their recent board member meeting, they talked about what their focus would be. And what is their focus? Sustainability, diversity, inclusion, the future looking green with a little shamrock emoji, things like that, right? Now, I'm not going to pass judgment on any of that here. But what I will say is that sounds a lot like political advocacy, right? Where they're talking about advocating for political ideals, aligning with political ideals, and pushing it forward. It's advocacy. That is their primary stance. That is their focus. That is their strategic direction, as they put it. Their strategic direction is political advocacy. Now, to give the GNOME Foundation some credit, they don't list artificial intelligence. So it's got that going for it. But I want to say that everything is not doom and gloom, right? There are some organizations out there that, while they do occasionally talk about AI or some things that delve into some political worlds, they have not focused on them. And I want to call out three of them right now. The first one is Canonical, the makers of the Ubuntu Linux distribution. If you go looking around their press releases, their products that they heavily promote, you will notice very quickly that while they do say, hey, Ubuntu's a good platform for artificial intelligence, it is not only not the first thing they say, not the first thing they hit you over the head with, it's not even the second or third thing. It's down there on the list as just yet another thing you can use Ubuntu Linux for. And I appreciate that, because as much as I don't generally love most of what's happening in the AI world, I will I will accede to everybody that there is some extremely cool technology happening with AI. But I don't necessarily want absolutely everything about every computer on planet Earth to be focused on AI. And so when I look at how Canonical is approaching it, I've got to give them a thumbs up. I've got to give them a high five, because they're not going all out on it. They're just saying there are many uses for Ubuntu Linux, and one of the many is AI. And here's a white paper or two, but it's off to the side and it's not the focus. That's actually pretty cool. That's refreshing. That's extraordinarily reasonable. Now, there's many complaints and concerns I have with the strategic direction of Ubuntu Linux and Canonical. But their approach to AI is not one of them. And I got to give them credit at that. Also, when you look through their press releases, their announcements, their keynotes, it is very rare that you get hit over the head with a giant fish labeled activism. It just doesn't happen that often, right? And I appreciate that. It is more about the technology, the software, the computers, than it is about political advocacy. And I've got to say, I respect that. I'm hoping that Ubuntu continues and Canonical continues treating things that way, because it's refreshing in today's day and age when Red Hat and Microsoft and everyone else are going the exact opposite direction. They're going 100 miles an hour down the freeway, drunk and blindfolded, screaming about AI and political advocacy. It's crazy. Another organization I want to call out very briefly is Debian. Debian has made a few statements over the last few years that are a little politically for my taste, but not much. It's real limited compared to everyone else. When at a time when there are Linux distributions and entire tech companies who are specifically discriminating against people for political reasons, I don't see a lot of that coming out of Debian. And that really makes me happy. Likewise, you go to the Debian website, what's it about? It's about Debian. It's Linux. What else is it about? Nothing. It's about Debian. It's Linux. They focus on what they do, and they try not to get distracted. And I've got to say, kudos. That is a fantastic approach. I am extremely impressed with that. Keep it up. So see, it's not all doom and gloom out there. And I want to call into one extra point. I want to talk about Apple for just a moment. Because while Apple has dabbled in the artificial intelligence space, at present, things are not focused on AI. Now, there are rumors that the upcoming Worldwide Developer Conference, which happens in, just a couple weeks, Apple is going to roll out extensive AI-based functionality in both iOS and other operating systems that they develop. So across their product line, we could see a huge dive into the AI swimming pool, which would be a shame. In my personal opinion, that would be a shame. I don't mind Apple or anyone else playing around with AI functionality, but I would hate to see yet another company go the direction of Microsoft, where they're going to say everything is about AI. I mean, Microsoft's making a point about how the Copilot AI is literally being injected into creating your Word documents, your spreadsheets, the code you write, how you check things in, your terminal, your web browsing experience, even your gaming experience. They had a whole video about how you're now going to have an AI assistant to help you play Minecraft. It's crazy, in my personal opinion. It's over the top AI. Now, is that sort of thing going to happen coming from Apple? I don't know. There's rumors, but at this point, I simply don't know. I know a lot of Apple fanboys right now are going to yell about one thing or another, but we really, really don't know. Now, so at the moment, Apple is one of the AI holdouts, because they do have AI, but they're not going crazy with it. Likewise, Apple does dabble in political advocacy, little bits here and there, but they don't push it as hard. Now, the Lunduke Journal gets leaked emails regularly from Red Hat and Microsoft and Amazon and so many other, and IBM and so many companies, where employees are talking about their concerns about the political advocacy one way or the other within their companies. I haven't gotten anything out of Apple. And Apple's a big company, and I know a lot of people who work at Apple. And while there are plenty of people at Apple with very distinct political opinions, the company itself has, by and large, stayed out of most politics. And I appreciate that. I truly do. I appreciate that that's happening. You know, when Microsoft and Google, I haven't even talked about Google, and Red Hat and IBM and everyone else is going whole hog on AI and political advocacy, Apple is sitting over here dabbling in AI and occasionally mention a little political advocacy, but then they pull back and stay out of it. I mean, shoot. I gotta say it. That's refreshing to me. I hope that continues because realistically, for me, the computer is the thing. Whether it be the hardware or the software, I want to see it computing be about computers, right? Making the computer cool, right? Adding new features, great. Making the build quality better, awesome. Making them faster, cool. Making the prices come down, making the battery life better, cool new operating system features. All of this is awesome. All of this is awesome. New dev tools, great. But what I don't want to see, personally, is everything from the top to the bottom being all about AI and the company pushing some political point, some political thing or another, and focusing on political advocacy, even if that political advocacy, that's a word, agrees with me 100% of the time, I still don't want to see it. That doesn't make me feel great. That's not what my computer's about. But yet, here we are. So, over the coming months, here's what I predict will happen. I predict Apple's going to go more towards the AI route than they currently are, but not as far as Microsoft and Google and Mozilla. And I predict that Mozilla is going to go so hard towards the AI route that it's going to make everyone's head spin a little bit. And it's going to make a lot of Firefox users very unhappy in the long term because their web browser of choice, the savior of free and open web browsing, is going to be all about AI. And so the entire web browser ecosystem is going to get turned upside down. Things are going to go crazy. Who knows who the king of web browsing is going to be a year or two from now with Google and Mozilla and everyone else going whole hog towards AI. Will Brave come out on top because of that? I don't know. I honestly couldn't tell you on that front. But we're going to see a lot more news about AI and a lot more companies releasing a lot more statements about how they're going to go even harder towards AI in the months ahead. All leading up to a phenomenal crash of AI, I'm guessing around the end of 2024. I think Christmas of 2024 is going to be brutal for AI-based companies. It is going to be absolutely brutal. But we'll wait and see. I could be wrong. I've been wrong once or twice before. Before we go, I want to thank everyone for helping to make the Lunduke Journal possible. Again, you'll notice there's no ads here. There's no big tech influence here. I can speak my mind on any of these companies because no company can pull the rug out from underneath the Lunduke Journal. So thank you to all of the subscribers. Go to lunduke.com or lunduke.locals.com and subscribe there. Either get a free subscription or a paid subscription. I appreciate every single buckazoid that rolls in. It helps to keep the lights on here at the Lunduke Journal and helps us keep doing what we're doing. All right, with that, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, nerds and nerdettes across the inner tubes, I do declare, end broadcast.